There are some people you do not employ. One of them is your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt. Don't employ those ones. They'll destroy your business.
What's been your biggest regret?
Trusting too many people. Trusting people who tell you how things are going to be all right without evidence. Sometimes it's good to be mean.
So you don't go to church.
You go to church. You go to church, yes. But remember, the primary goal of going to church
is to pray, to worship.
To pray and worship. Your money must take care of you at a later date when you can't earn it. So don't give it away.
Good evening and welcome to the Late Night Business. My name is Ian Daz, and as always, each and every week we have a very interesting show lined up. And today it's no different. Actually, today I have with me the oldest person who's actually sat on that particular chair on the other end. Oldest just in terms of age, but on heart, very, very young. He holds so many different particular titles. But before I get to introduce my guest, I want to remind you that you're here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. Because at the Capital Club, you have access to a wide variety of amenities that you can actually get to access and literally spend your day from morning to evening here, not only doing your meetings, but also entertaining your guests. There's the meeting room where we are in, there's the restaurant where you can actually have your dinner and actually entertain your friends, there's the spa, there's the gym, and so much more. Also, I want to remind you that two of my books, one, Food for Thought and Other Business Conquest, they're actually out at Textbook Center. The guest I'm actually speaking about holds so many different titles. He's a professor, he's a doctor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a farmer, and holds the titles as the youngest person ever to sit on this other end. That's Professor Dr. Peter Mungai Ngugi. Thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thanks. Yeah. I've never been so described.
There's so much to describe you that it's very difficult to describe you. And when you start going the number of businesses you've done and the things that you do. But it's kind of a pleasure. Thanks so much for having come to the show.
Thanks.
Looking all young.
You're as young as you feel.
Yes.
And your feeling depends on what you do.
True. Yeah. The first question I like starting all my conversations, what exactly are you most grateful for today?
What am I what?
What are you grateful for today?
God having allowed me to wake up this morning is the things I'm most grateful about, because without God I would not be here. The next thing I'm grateful is the country called Kenya. Whatever misgivings anybody might have had about Kenya, Kenya is one country that has brought me from a tiny little thing in a small village to somebody who you'd want to talk to in Nairobi. So that I'm grateful. And for the people of Kenya having lifted me, that I am forever grateful. Then I'm forever grateful for the University of Nairobi, having trained me from the age of 19, taken me to become a teacher there. Up to this point, at the age of 64, when I've been a professor at the same university. For the University of Nairobi, I'm grateful. I'm also grateful for the Kenyatta National Hospital, where I was admitted as a small child in my early childhood. I learned my English language in the wards of Kenyatta National Hospital.
You've mentioned that it's at the wards of Kenyatta that you literally learned your English.
Yes.
How's that relation? Were you born there? Or were your parents working there? How come?
No, that's why Kenya is great. I went there as a patient.
As a toddler?
Yes. We were actually the two of us. There was me and a younger brother of mine. We were admitted at the Kenyatta National Hospital with all the diseases that you can imagine: diphtheria, whooping cough, and TB.
As toddlers?
Yes, it happened.
I'm so sorry about that.
So we were so ill. My younger brother died. It's me who was supposed to die. Thank God I'm the one who lived, but it's bad. He died. And so,
twin brother?
No, not a twin. He was younger than me. So we stayed there, and I was in Kenyatta on and off for the next, probably up to the age of 6, 7. I would be admitted home. So I knew Kenyatta National Hospital around it because that was my second home.
So it was like a difficult childhood that you went through.
I don't call it difficult. Yeah. No, it didn't sound difficult.
But it was sickly.
It was sick. I mean, that was my environment, and that's the environment that, I mean, I'm glad that I lived. There are many others who didn't. And so I grew up there. And so one of the things that happened is I chose to be a doctor because I was a patient.
That's very interesting. That's where the relationship...
And I became a urologist because one of my biggest challenges was urine. So one of the things that used to happen to me is I used to pee in bed. And one of the things we know about people who pee in bed, they tend to be above average in thinking. And so, but they are abused by the society, by people who don't understand. So in Kenyatta National Hospital, we were sleeping in double deckers. It was St. George's, King George something that time. So I'd sleep up in the double deck and the other kids down, and I'm peeing in bed. And so I wasn't the most And so what would happen? I said this on family TV a few years ago, and people found it interesting. And so the nurses who were there, they were white, would come with the bed sheets and beat me with those bed sheets, and I would cry. And people thought I should stop peeing in bed. And then there was a young doctor, I don't know who he is, wherever he went, he was white, and he would hold me by the shoulder. Then don't cry, don't worry. One of these days you will treat people who have problems with passing urine, which is what I do today.
That's very interesting. And what's the cause of that? What causes that?
It is some deficiency in your brain, and or some disorganization in your brain in hormone production. So when you are asleep in the night, you're not able to feel you've got urine, and so you pee in bed. And it's not something that you're going to be healed by bells and pushing around and being abused. It's something that probably gets better with compassion. But there is medicine for it, which is what I give today.
Interesting. So it happens until probably you're medicated after a while?
Yes.
All right, because I think I was also in your shoes for a while. So probably So probably it was out of that particular period, being sick in the hospital, that primarily, and also maybe the compassion that the doctor showed you, that inspired you to become
Absolutely. You've summarized it.
All right, that's very interesting. And growing up, where did you grow up? From Kenyatta now, because you mentioned the first 6 years of your life you're in
Yes, I was in Kenyatta. We were living in Kikuyu. My parents were living in Kikuyu then, in a place near Wangigi there. It's called Shura. And this is, by 1969, it was the 5th of December 1969. It was an elections day. We moved.
Oh, the first election?
The one I saw.
Yes. Because the first one, Kenyatta did the team of putting there.
Yes. So we moved to a place called Siron. In Laikipia, and that's our new home.
So you grew up largely in Laikipia?
Yes, I went to Siron Primary School in Marmanet County, and then from there I came back to Nairobi. My father was working as a worker, whatever he was doing at the British American Tobacco. So I came to Nairobi. I was at Parkland Secondary School. Then from Parkland Secondary School, I went to Jiris High School. From Jiris High School, I went to the University of Nairobi, and I'm there since. All right.
So it means you're a very bright student going all through. By the time you...
I don't want to describe myself as being bright. I think I was just paying attention to detail.
So the rest of us need. So you paid yourself to detail until you got yourself into university. Yes. So when were you admitted in when were you admitted in Nairobi University?
1979, after the death of Jomo Kenyatta in 1978. 1979, I joined the University of Nairobi.
And you're quite precise, you wanted to do medicine, that's what your interest all through.
I wanted to do medicine before I went to Standard 1. Yes, I was sure. No, I didn't want to do medicine. I was sure of what I was going to do. It wasn't going to be anything else.
It was out of that experience that you had being a child, what exactly pushed you
and a promise I had to fulfill to this young doctor that I'll become a doctor.
Did you ever meet him after that?
No. I don't even know how he looks like, whether he looks... I don't know. If he's alive, he would be a very old man. And if he's not, God bless him. I would ask God to bless his soul, because he changed me.
And then, so having gone through, University of Nairobi, you, did your general practice?
Yes.
Just take me through now your career. Now.
From there, I went to do my internship at the Nakuru Provincial General Hospital in 1985 to 1986. Kenya was going through difficult issues politically, so and the punishment you would get for not being not conforming would be to be taken to places like Northeastern Province.
So you mentioned not conforming. What did you do?
It's probably not a good thing to do, but I refuse to admit a dead body as a patient.
Ah, so just some of, during that period there.
Yeah, somebody who had been killed by some functionaries, and I was being asked to admit, and I declined.
Refused. So you sent to Northeastern.
Yes. The best thing they could have done for me was take me to the Northeastern.
Oh, so for how long were you there?
I was there 1986, 87, 88.
Mm-hmm.
Then I came back for my postgraduate training, and I learned a lot. I was privileged. There was nothing as good they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you intend to punish somebody and you give them the best. That's what they did, transferring me to Northeastern Province. Then.
And then, so after your practice, you mentioned to me you had a stint going to the UK.
That's much after.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, I came for my postgraduate training. I finished my training in 1991.
So postgraduate is when you did surgery?
Yes, my surgical training. And then I joined as a lecturer in the Department of Surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to the UK in 1994, and I left there in 1996. Mm-hmm. So that's where I did my urology. Surgical training, basic surgical training, was at Kenyatta National Hospital. And then training in urology was at the Royal Sussex Hospital in Sussex.
So for someone who's watching this, maybe the term urology is actually a new term. What does a urologist do?
A urologist is a very simple doctor. Sometimes people call us plumbers. A urologist.
You deal with the pipes.
We deal with the pipes.
All the body pipes.
Yeah, so it basically deals with the urinary tract, how urine is stored, produced, stored, and removed. So basically you find me in the kidney, you find me in the bladder, you find me in the urethra. So along that path, you will find the kidney having problems, you have the urethra having problems, the bladder having problems, the prostate having problems, the urethra having problems, and then if you go below that, you find the genitals also having problems. That's what a urologist takes care of, including male factor, fertility or infertility.
Interesting. And so after your stint in the UK, so you came back here, you still continued your...
Yes, I came back here, and the Department of Surgery, which I'm still part of. Then I worked in various hospitals. I worked at the Aga Khan, the MP Shah, the Mata Hospital, and the Nairobi Hospital. And so we did all sorts of things. We did kidney transplants. We did all those other various things. But my key thing was the interest in, I had a big interest in kidney transplantation, and so that found me there. And so we started the thought of, we started that in 1996, with probably even earlier, 1994, the thought of having a regional center for training urologists. Because for me to go train as a urologist, I had to go to the UK. And the majority of Kenyans went to the UK, a few went to South Africa, but majority went to various parts of the world. So we thought we needed a training center in our part of the world, because urology is wide and there are many diseases that people may not know require the urologist, particularly as was then and is today, prostate cancer, which affects, maybe you know, nearly 1 in 10 men in Kenya. So 10% of the male population would need to be taken care of. And the enlargements of the prostate is in everybody. We've been using lots of chemicals. Bladder cancer in our country is rising, trauma and urethral strictures and such things. So we needed many people to do that. So at the University of Nairobi, we started a training program for urologists in 2014, and that's now running, having 9 to 10 postgraduate students every year.
Interesting.
And then we also started a nephrology training program. It teaches the nephrologists. We started the nephrology nurses.
What's that?
Nephrology is...
For layman like
I know, I'm talking as though people know. Nephrologists, nephrologists are the doctors who take you through dialysis, who plan your dialysis, who teach the the patients after kidney transplantation. Those are the nephrologists. Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, because primarily you deal with the kidneys and primarily, as you mentioned, all the urinal tracts and all that. How can one prevent themselves from getting to a point of maybe having diabetes or maybe kidney failures, or maybe prevent themselves from having what's it called? What's the name? Prostate. Can one prevent themselves?
A lot of the ones you mentioned earlier, that is the diabetes and all those high blood pressure, are lifestyle issues. So if you have a sweet tooth, just know there's a price for it. If you're going to allow yourself to be a BMI, body mass index of above 30, you know, you're probably going to get high blood pressure. But even then,
so if you should become fat.
If you become fat, of course, there is a price to pay for that being fat. If you're sedentary, there is a price to pay for it.
What do you mean sedentary?
If you wake up in the morning and leave your bed and go to the couch. So
there's a price to pay.
There is a price to pay.
And you're the person to receive the price.
Yes, certainly. So those are things that happen in people's lives. So wake up. I'm told the best time to wake up for any human being is 4 a.m. in the morning.
Why?
Your body adjusts very well to waking up at 4 a.m. and your body tissues like that waking up at 4 a.m. So wake up at 4 a.m., pray if you're a Christian, pray if you're a Muslim, I think, and so you start your day with God. Then you move to the rest of the day. If you can have a plan, even if you don't have a plan, do something, but don't sit down and do nothing.
At least just to make a lot of movement, to prevent yourself paying the price.
Yes.
And then, so when you came back to Kenya from the UK, you mentioned you set up some of the departments, part of the departments in the UN. So meaning that you're working for UN. Also, did you start your private practice immediately?
Yes, we actually started earlier. I was still doing private practice even in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I was at the then Continental House, then we went to what was then Shell and BP House, then eventually in the year 2000, we moved to the Upper Hill Medical Center.
So you're part of the team that set up the Upper Hill Medical Center.
Yes,
that has been there for almost the last 28 years.
Yes, it's there. So.
All right.
Yeah.
And maybe for any medical doctor watching this, or any person who's maybe interested in getting into medicine, how would you, advise them in terms of getting into private practice? Do you have to probably do your postgraduate and then pursue it? Or at what particular point would you advise any person who wants to get into private practice?
Times have changed, and today if you're going to be a general practitioner without a postgraduate training, you probably have yourself lower down in the ranks, and probably you can't move very far. So having a postgraduate training, and even a postgraduate training, is a useful thing because it helps you focus on the one area of the body rather than jumping from the head to the toe, even though you should know your patient from the head to the toe. There's a specific part of the body you should be good at, and which you can be reading with at and revising and looking at literature, because things change. Every 3 years, medicine changes almost completely. So you cannot keep, you can't treat bones, treat eyes, treat legs, treat liver. No, you need to focus on something that is interesting for you. I think that's the key thing. Focus on one small part of the body that you can treat well, while keeping a broad picture of what a patient is.
And as a doctor, you work for so many hours. How have you been juggling your time all through the years? Because I'm sure you're in class at one point, you're managing a department at another point, you're having your private practice. How do you manage all this time?
The prayer at 4 a.m. helps, because it sets you off as to what you're going to do for the rest of the day. So it's important, it's a good starting point. If you can have a diary, it's useful. If you can't have a diary, just arrange them chronologically in the morning before you set off. Because if you don't, you'll miss some. I've done that, believe you me. And I ended up doing half of what I wanted to do because I didn't have a list. So I have a checklist. How
do you plan your day? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're a farmer, you're a urologist, you're all so many different things.
Give them the time that is due for them.
So in a day, how do you divide yourself?
I divide myself.
On a typical day?
On a typical day, I wake up in the morning.
4 a.m.?
Yeah.
Up to now?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
so many people who are just even in their 20s who can't wake up at 4 a.m.
so what will they do when they go to the grave?
They never wake up.
You've got to be useful. Yeah, so that's the one thing I like doing. So once you start that,
So you start every day 4 a.m.
Yes.
So you pray. You mentioned that.
Yes.
Then
after you've prayed, then you say, "This is what I'm going to do." There are things that were pending from yesterday. Start with those ones.
So what time do you start your day?
5:30 you should be off. There is no traffic that time. If you move from there to your office, it takes 10 minutes. If you come at 9, 8, you spend 2 hours. So why waste your time on the road? Yeah, drive that time.
So how does your typical day?
So you will go that if you have a lecture.
Yeah.
We'll give.
So have your lectures planned out?
Yes, and that is the time to plan them. Also, it's not easy to plan them in the evening. Your mind is not fresh, so you plan that time. If you're going to meet students, you meet them that time. If you're going to meet with collaborators, I do research, so you have international collaborators. That's the best time to arrange, like between 8 and 10. After 10, you've got to do something different. You can do your surgery, or in the afternoon, you can see patients. If the surgery extends to beyond the afternoon, you can see your patients in the evening. I go home usually 11, 12, midnight.
Every day? So your days literally runs from 4 a.m. to around 12 midnight?
Yes.
So you sleep for 4 hours?
Yes, because there will be a time to sleep.
When you're dead. And how do you keep yourself energetic? Because we always talk about the work-life balance. So your life literally looks like it's all work.
Yes, but you see, on Saturday and Sundays, I'll do different things from what I do. Most of the farm work is sorted out during weekends, not during the weekday. I have a phone call. I spend an hour phone call on the businesses. So
every day?
Every day.
Or you call all the businesses? I
call all the businesses. You agree what is going on. Then after that, the businesses are on my way. Then I go and do my practice. At the end of the day, by 10 p.m., before I go home, I have a call with the people responsible for the businesses.
Also, you have a call during the day and in the evening?
In the evening. Spend a call. I pay Safaricom a lot of money.
And how are you able to maintain that discipline?
It takes a short while. But I think the biggest reason or biggest driver to doing that is you have made a promise to God in the morning. So you can't afford to cheat God. I can cheat Ian. But
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't own heaven or
So I can't cheat God. So if I promise to do this, and I promise to thank Him for having done it in the evening, then I must do it. You push yourself.
And out of curiosity, do you have your time for family?
Well, yes, my wife and I will be in the evening together. We'll be in the morning for breakfast. And everybody goes their way.
Yes. Alright, so we're going to take a short commercial break and then we find out, my goodness, just so many insights to learn. So I'll see you after the break just to find out what are some of the disciplines, what are some of the money lessons we can actually learn from it, what are some of the businesses and the lessons we can actually get to extract from Dr. Professor. So I'll see you after the break. Welcome back to the show. Before we went on a break, Professor just taking us through his journey all the way from just childhood, as far as he became a urologist, how he now got into his practice, and now we're going to delve into some of the practices they can actually get to learn from him. So one of the core things that you've learned from you is that every day you wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
For how long have you maintained this particular practice?
Well, my mom used to wake me up, so I can't remember when she started waking me up, and she's one who would want you to pray, so.
Up to date, because I'm surprised you're 64 now, but Monday to Friday, every day at 4 a.m.
To Saturday.
Monday to Saturday?
Yeah.
At 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
Wow. And let me just change tacks a bit. In terms of now, because you've been in the practice, you also run other businesses, you're a farmer, you run a hotel, you have so many interests that you have. How did this particular other interest manage to sprout out with you also doing your practice? Because you're also very busy, and you're also a lecturer.
Yeah, true. One of the things farming would have had to be part of me, because that's what we fed on, that's what we grew up on. And farming is very interesting because that's the only thing that you do, which is very different from this other thing. When you're in the farm, you're not thinking about patients, because I think about patients, I pray for my patients. And so
you have a lot of patience.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So you want to go to the farm to look at the tree, or to look at the cow or the goat. They look very nice. They bring you back to nature. So they take you away from the stress of the hustle and bustle of the city of Nairobi. So that's an escape. And that escape should provide you with a living. I'm not going to work until I'm 85. I look forward to retirement. I'd like, if God gives me the time to reach retirement, I'd like to be walking with the cows and walking between the trees and walking between the plants and talking to them. There's nothing as good as talking to plants.
They can't talk back.
That's one thing. They are silent listeners.
They are very patient.
Remember, the rest of the day I spend my time listening to patients. So this time is time when my patients listen to me. So that's one thing. And there's a different atmosphere in the farm. It's quiet, there is no cars, there is no machinery. So you're just walking. And that is one thing I don't want to give up for any price.
And the other business interests that you have, let's say one of them, what's it called, the Siron place that you own. How did it come about? How have you gone about investments and all?
Those and small other investments I've done, because I have some little bit of real estate as well, is to secure my future. Because the one thing you don't realize is when you're very busy, time moves so fast that you're in January today and tomorrow you're December. So you can easily spend your time going through January to December without any months in between, and then you will not have any investment to go on. So you'd look for a passive income, something that other people can do for you, something that can secure your retirement. So that's how we have this restaurant. But you also want to, it's a service industry like medicine. So you want to provide a service. I want to see people who are happy. I want to see people who are eating. I want to see people who have relaxed. So for me, that's the service we provide. Makes you feel, in fact for Siron, it's called affordable relaxation. Because you want people to relax and feel it is not the end of the world. It is another day.
And at what point did you start making your investments? At what age did you start making investments? And what have you learned about investment over the years?
When I was employed as an intern in Nakuru, I met a watchman. The watchman who was at the hospital gate, and we were conversing, and he told me, Daktari, what you do, start saving. This your month's salary, save 1,000. I was getting 3,000 shillings.
That was in the 80s?
86, 85. So save 1,000 shillings. So then I listened to this watchman and I thought he was very clever. So I started saving out of my 2,000, 3,000, I saved 1,000. So I bought my first piece of land at the end of my internship. So that was my first investment. Then I went on, my next investment was to shape my practice. My next investment, which is very important, everybody must have, is a dwelling place of your own. So I bought my house. It came by default because the university said they're not going to lease houses for us, and I knew I had saved some little money. I wanted to buy a house. So I bought a house in South Sea, started a mortgage, then I paid my mortgage in 3 years. That was out of my way. South Sea is a good place, but was not my goal. I don't know why I looked at Karen, but there you go. Maybe it's because of the bush. I'm a boy from the bush, so I wanted a place which has trees, has birds, has. So I ended up in Karen and built a house. Not clever, built a house that would house all my children and my wife and an extra visitor.
That's how you and your wife alone.
And now those are the 5 bedrooms are empty. So that was not a wise investment, but there it is. Once in the last time they were full is 10 years ago, so you don't find. And some of them have never been occupied. Then I started going into small real estate. And then I went, we started in 2012. It's been a challenge building the Ciron, paying for it. We still have challenges with it, but we hope we can overcome those challenges. So it was big, it was a mouthful.
And what's been your best investment that when you look back and say, this is the best investment I've done? What are some of the elements you've learned around?
Yes, I've learned. The best investment was one that didn't involve a loan. The investment where I did without taking a loan holds you nicely. The investments with loans, bringing other people, bringing other problems, and banks, lawyers, accountants, and you throw away your money to those. So that is what makes borrowed investments expensive. Perhaps if I was to start today, I would grow slowly. Because you spend the same money, but when you borrow, you lose a lot of it.
And in terms of money, because you mentioned that it's the Watchman who pushed you to start saving quite early. What are some of the things you've learned, or maybe some of your practices around money?
Money never say there is little money. Even 50 cents, and it was useful, is useful money. Save even the 50 cents. Don't spend it. That's one. 2, don't give your money away. Like in Kenya, there are so many people who want your money. The church, the politician, the villager, the government, your relatives, all those people come with a bowl. And once somebody once told me, just know how to avoid paying all these people.
How do you avoid it?
Sometimes it's good to be mean.
So you don't go to church.
You go to church. You go to church, yes. But remember, the primary goal of going to church
is to pray, to worship.
To pray and worship.
Not to You shall receive in Jesus' name.
Because your money must take care of you at a later date when you can't earn it. So don't give it away. It's God-given, but give to the church that for which they must have. What the church must have is what you must give. But these are the things. There is this thing in Kenya called harambe. It's exploitation. People want you to give money here, give money here, give money here. It's not accounted. You don't even know when you give. No, I don't want to give that kind of money.
When you mention be mean with money, what do you mean by that?
That you only give money for a purpose that is written down, and you know how it is going to be spent. Any money that is not written down, don't spend.
Break it down to me.
So, if you have a pay slip, pay your house, pay your this, pay your this, pay your this. Donations must not be more than 5% of your earnings. No. Unless you're a philanthropist because you have billions of dollars. But if you're struggling like an average Kenyan, don't give more than 5% of your hard-earned money. Taking care of your parents and taking care of your children is not giving away. But going to places where you're buying food for people, buying drinks for people, buying people who have nothing to do with you, you're throwing away your money.
What also have you learned about management? Because you're running so many businesses. You're managing so many, managing patients, hospitals. What have you learned around management?
Management is, first of all, divide your management into manageable pieces. That's why it's called management. Divide it into areas that you can competently look at. The next thing you need to know is how you can delegate this management. You cannot be in 50 places at the same time. So delegate whatever you can. And as you grow, as your portfolio grows, so should your delegation. Now the challenge is in knowing who to trust in that management, who to trust in that delegation. That is a challenge in Kenyans, and before you delegate to people, I tell you, learn them. And the sweet talking are your worst enemies. They're the ones who will throw away your money, they're the ones who will waste your money. So learn to look at somebody in the eye and see whether they can be trusted. If somebody else, particularly if your wife tells you, I don't trust that person, please take heed. Yeah.
So the lesson is listen to your wife.
It is very important to listen to her. If she tells you this person is not trustworthy, if you move from that path, you'll come back to her crying. Yeah, something will have gone wrong.
So you've been there.
So, yes. So when you involve your wife in what you do, it doesn't help to hide. If she wants to kill you because of your property, she can still kill you anyhow. So involve her in what you're doing, so that she learns, so that when there is decision making about the person you are going to delegate to, she can listen. And women have a sixth sense.
Yeah, I agree.
So you want her to tell you and ask her, what do you think about this person called Glass? Is he trustworthy?
Maybe they're not transparent.
Exactly.
And what's it called? Because you're running different businesses and you have different managers who you report to.
Yeah.
One of the core things I think we're talking when you are offline is that you make 2 different calls every day.
Yes.
Just take me through that procedure, because you can't visit all your businesses every day. How do you keep an eye on all these businesses?
I can't even keep an eye. I can only look at reports. And the more business grows, the less of what goes on you get to know. You have delegated. And eventually, probably at the corporate level, you delegate completely, so that the people you have trusted to do what you're doing can do it. Now, the checks and balances of the business is your biggest challenge. Because you may have this person who comes to you and tells you how Christian they are or how Muslim they are. Check a little bit beyond the proclamation. Because businesses are brought down by people.
Perceived.
Those ones.
Yeah, I know them.
The other person, there are some people you do not employ. One of them is your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt. Don't employ those ones. They'll destroy your business. Those ones will come with very nice stories, and they destroy your business thinking they are doing you good, but they will destroy because they think they are part of the business. Remember, they are not. They are not part of your business. So if you start a business and you put your sister in charge, it will come down.
What's been your biggest regret? Or maybe what's the one thing that when you look back in terms of your business, your investment journey, I can see it's one of the big regrets that I hold looking back?
It is trusting too many people. Trusting people who tell you how things are going to be all right without evidence, without proof. And you listen to a nice story of how you'll plant, like I did, 30 acres of bananas, and the bananas will grow very big, and you'll be getting 50 million shillings every year. And then this person tells you he belongs to a company that has grown these bananas, but there's nothing written. It's all verbal. 3 years down the line, the bananas were not producing. 7 years down the line, I told the people on the farm, everybody pick a panga and cut down all these bananas. This is not a place for bananas. But I had been told how they're going to do good. That's one. The other one, Kenya, is people who will tell you how they'll be able to get you financiers. How they'll be able to get you cheap financiers. Please don't listen to those ones. Go with your dream. Because I was once conned 19 million shillings.
How?
By a very nice man advertising.
You can con professors.
Unfortunately, you can. Somebody who was advertising on TV how they grow chicken, how they plant bananas, and you buy, you give them 1 million and 1 acre, they do a borehole and so on and so forth. Once you give them the 1 million, they run away.
There's no borehole, there's nothing.
No, they just take off. This person conned thousands of people in Kenya.
And they conned you 19 million.
They conned me 19 million. I went to court, I won, but they had disappeared.
You give him 19 million?
Yes, I did.
For 19 acres?
No, for 100 acres. So, I learned there are Kenyans who spend all their lives cheating. And do not listen to somebody who will tell you how you will go and invest in a project and how they'll get you offshore investors to come and help your portfolio grow. Those offshore investors, particularly when they are diaspora, particularly people from America, and they come and tell you how you invest your money, please tell them to go and come and invest that money from America themselves. They are cheats. So those are people I have regretted. There are some, I mean, without mentioning second names, one was Stanley, one was Ben, one was Manajijua. They conned me. So, but the good thing is that even when you've been conned, if you are an entrepreneur, you will rise up.
And how have you been able to now overcome this? Because I'm sure losing 19 million at any point.
Yes.
It's quite a.
Yes.
You've saved it for a while. You've worked for it.
Yeah.
How do you recover from that?
Prayer. Yeah. There's no other way. Otherwise, you go into depression, and you die out of the lie. So you wake up. It was not money I had. It's money I borrowed.
Oh, with interest.
Yes.
So you ended up paying a loan.
Yes.
For nothing, you can see.
Yes.
What's your thoughts around debt?
Debt, the Bible says that you should not incur debt, that you pay your debts, that you move out of debt. There is nothing further from the truth. If you have debts, you are a slave. It's not me who says it, it's the Bible. So to stop being a slave, pay your debts whenever you can and avoid taking debts for things you don't need. So if you have a small car, let's say you're driving a Vitz, don't borrow to buy a Prado. No. It's wasting your money and you'll waste your opportunity. Drive the Vitz until you can buy the Prado with cash.
What's the biggest money mistakes that you've made before?
The biggest money mistake is that one of listening to people and people telling me how they're going to do, how they're going to invest. In every aspect of it, in every aspect of venture in Kenya, you'll have nice people who will come and tell you how you can do it. They'll plan, they'll bring accountants, they'll bring lawyers to con you. So if you want to do any business, plan it yourself. You can borrow ideas, but let the implementation be yourself.
And just finally, because you're 64, you've done quite a lot over the years, over the last 6 decades. What are some of the maybe 3 greatest lessons that you can actually share to the audience who are just listening to this? Because you're someone who's been there for a long time and you have not been useless, as you said.
That's my biggest fear was to be useless. The one thing I've learned is that falling is not the end of life. You will fall, stumble and rise up. There are times when you feel like staying where you fell and complain about how you fell and tell the whole world how you fell. You'll move nowhere. Rise up, remove the dust, and move. Whether this is in training, if you're training and you fall, rise up, move. Don't tell us how you fell.
No one cares.
No one cares. So once you're fallen, move on. If you find you're moving to the sea and there is nothing you can do, don't be afraid of turning back. Like my bananas. You see, I grew bananas for 5 years. It's not working. Told my people, cut all these bananas down. People are telling me, oh, are you cutting bananas and they look so nice? They are not producing. So if you have a business that is not giving you profit, please cut it down. However painful it is, cut it down. Because you procrastinate, you get attached to it, you get emotions about it, and you die with it. Don't commit suicide.
Just get out of the business. And
Get out of it.
Yeah.
Get out of that business and try something else.
Wow.
Because it's so easy to stick there and cry, I dare say even pray, and nothing will happen.
True.
Get out of there and move elsewhere.
Wow. Thanks so much for your time, Prof. I've learned so much. I think we need to do another just old edition with this professor. We get so much knowledge. Thanks so much for sharing all the insights. Probably I think we need to do another, but to put in his slides so fast. Thanks so much for having watched the show. We've learned a thing or two from Professor, and you've gained a lot of insights around money, investments, and business. My name is Ian Dennis. This has been the Late Night Business. Until next time, I'll see you right here on KTN Home.